Hello, here is the review for Chapter 8, An Introduction to Metabolism. Now, this chapter leads into Chapter 9 in part. Under Roman numeral 1, we talk about energy. Energy is the ability to do work. Energy can come in the form of kinetic and potential. Potential energy is stored energy. It has the ability to do work, but it isn't actually doing any work. Kinetic energy is the energy released. There are many forms of energy. Chemical energy, electrical, mechanical, all types of energy exist. Now, when it comes to energy, we have the laws of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics is that energy is not created or destroyed. There's a fixed amount of energy in the entire universe. So basically, energy can be converted. The second law is that energy transformations are never 100% efficient. That is, with every energy transformation, there's a loss of energy. It's not destroyed, but it's lost in the conversion. It's usually lost as heat. So if you're transferring energy from any form to any other form, not all of that energy is going to get to that second form. You're going to lose some as heat, and that's true no matter what. So heat is random kinetic energy of molecular motion, meaning that with every energy transfer, there is a loss of order or complexity. That's called entropy. Entropy is a word which means randomness or disorder. So on a universal scale, the second law describes increasing entropy in the universe. But more importantly for life, living things have order. That's one of the first things listed as properties of life, order. So for living things, in fact all ordered systems, to maintain order, there must be a continuous supply of energy. Okay? Without a supply of energy, a living organism dies. A cell dies. An ecosystem dies. The biosphere would die if it wasn't for the sun. So this is one of those facts of nature. Now, if it wasn't for the second law of thermodynamics, heat would not exist. How else do we maintain a constant body temperature? Our metabolism produces heat because of this second law of thermodynamics. That's where our body heat comes from. Under Roman numeral 2, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is the energy source for all cell work. All cells process energy using ATP as their fuel source. Page 149 shows you a drawing of the ATP molecule. The thing I want you to pay attention to is the fact that there are 3 phosphate groups stuck end to end. The energy for using ATP is between that second and third phosphate. So when ATP is being used for energy, it is broken. That third phosphate is taken off, and then it becomes ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and energy is released for cellular work. Now, you can't ever run out of ATP, ever, or it's over. So you have to constantly replenish it, okay, or phosphorylate it. Phosphorylate means to take that third phosphate, put it back on so you can use it again. That requires energy. That energy comes from the calories in the food we eat. And that process is called cellular respiration, which is what Chapter 9 will cover. In Roman numeral 3 of the chapter, we discuss enzymes. Enzymes are proteins that serve as biological catalysts. A catalyst is a substance that speeds up a chemical reaction but is not consumed by the reaction. In fact, what it allows for the chemistry of the body to happen at body temperature. It lowers the activation energy for the reaction. Activation energy is simply how much energy it takes to start a reaction. When you eat sugar from a marshmallow, you metabolize it by oxidating the sugar. Or if you set the sugar molecules on fire, light a marshmallow on fire, you're oxidizing it as well. Because of enzymes, we don't have to light our bodies on fire to oxidize sugar for energy, right? Isn't that nice? Now, what the enzyme does is it will bind to whatever it is we're reacting, and that is called the substrate. So on page 154, it shows you how the enzyme, which is a 3-dimensional protein, binds to the substrate, catalyzes the reaction, converts the substrate to the products, and your enzyme's left over to do it again. Now again, shape is everything. Anything that affects the shape of the enzyme can disrupt it or even denature it. So again, a major reason why homeostasis exists. We have to keep our body temperature just right. We have to keep our pH just right. We have to keep electrolytes just right. Because if something's not just right, it may affect the secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structures of the protein, and the enzyme won't work, and we won't be here to talk about it. So enzymes require optimum conditions, okay? For our bodies, optimum conditions are body temperature, optimum pH, everything like that. On page 156, the book also discusses how enzymes usually require other substances to help them along. They are cofactors and coenzymes. A cofactor is a mineral, like magnesium or copper or whatever, that helps enzymes work. Many of our mineral nutrients, especially magnesium, serve as cofactors for many enzymes. That's what they're for. A coenzyme does something similar, but a coenzyme is not a mineral. It's an organic substance. Many vitamins, particularly those of the B complex group, serve as coenzymes. Now, these vitamins aren't enzymes. They're coenzymes. Remember, an enzyme is a protein. Vitamins are proteins. There's also enzyme inhibitors, same page 156. Enzyme inhibitors are molecules that block enzyme activity by one way or another affecting the active site of the enzyme. The active site is the place on the enzyme where the substrate binds. Now, two kinds of inhibitors based on how they inhibit. A competitive inhibitor is a substance that competes for the active site. It binds to the active site, and therefore the substrate can't do it and you can't catalyze the reaction. A non-competitive inhibitor binds somewhere else on the enzyme, changes the shape of the enzyme so that the active site is non-functional. So they both do the same thing, more or less, but in different ways. And that pretty much covers what I'd like you to know from Chapter 9. Make sure you study the notes. Chapter 8, excuse me.